Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday where each and every evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on Wednesdays only, not every evening, but Wednesday evenings, we try to go live across social media. Depending on what's your favorite, you can check us out. We are currently on Facebook for a few places on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter and Twitch as well as Instagram. And I know we're running a few minutes late. I do apologize for that. I think without further ado, since we are running a little bit behind, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for your patience tonight. I was just running a couple of minutes behind and then I had a couple of minor technical problems, but they are resolved hopefully. You let me know how everything looks. As usual, if the sound isn't working or if the video doesn't look good, let me know. That way I can try to fix it for you. And we're going to try to have a good time tonight. So if you've never been here before, hello, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild Wednesday. Once in a Wild is our company's name, and we are actually a mobile zoo based in South Texas. We're in San Antonio, Texas, and we can travel to different areas of town as well as outside of town. Depending on how far you are, we can probably bring some animals to you, and we can travel with our animals and bring them to classrooms, birthday parties, and much, much more. We are a full mobile zoo, and we bring almost all of our animals to you as opposed to you coming to us. Now, we also have virtual capabilities as well. As you can see, I'm here in our studio today, and we are live on our live stream, but you can actually hire us for just a private Zoom if you would like, if you still are social distancing or you happen to live outside of our area of neck of the woods. Of course, we can't travel everywhere yet, but we can bring the zoo to you virtually, of course. And in that case, you would get to pick the animals that you get to meet. There's different amounts of animals depending on which selection you choose, which package you choose, and different prices and things like that. But you can actually select the animals that join the Zoom, and there's something for everybody as well. So we also have mammals, birds, reptiles, creepy crawlies, and amphibians as well. And we've got a little bit of something for everyone. So you're sure to find something that you like in our list of animal choices, I'm sure. So tonight, though, we're going to be on our live stream. As you can see, it is free of charge. And if you would like to support what we do and help our animals thrive and help us keep the lights on, etc., you can certainly donate to us. There are many, many different ways to donate to Once in a Wild, of course. The best way is the way I already mentioned, which is booking your own animal encounter that's just for you, and you get to customize it and everything else. And you get something in return for purchasing that, of course, by getting your own animal encounter. But another way you can help us out is just by donating any amount of your choosing. And that can go to all sorts of different places like PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and even our Amazon wish list is an option for you as well. To find all those options easily, you can visit onceinawild.com/donate. And you can also find all those links in the description or our bio description on Instagram as well. So if you'd like to help us out, there are many ways you can do so, by donating or by purchasing your own animal encounter, like I already mentioned. But a free way to help us out is just by following us on social media, by commenting down below, or liking the videos, sharing them, etc., etc., etc. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure to follow us over on TikTok as well. We are on TikTok, but we are not going live on there tonight. I go live every now and then, just random times over on TikTok. Pardon me. Let me get a little drink. But we do have a few TikTok videos that are a lot of fun, so make sure and follow us over there if you have TikTok and you like TikTok. TikTok's my favorite social media. But we're also everywhere, as you probably noticed. And to find all those links, you can find them in the description, or you can visit our website, onceinawild.com. Following us and showing the love that way is a free way to help us out, and it really does help out a lot. We're doing pretty well on Instagram. We're doing pretty well on Facebook, but all the rest of them, we need more followers and more likes and things like that. So that is a great way to help us out if you don't already follow us or know that we're over there. Now you know. So anyway, if you don't want to, like I said, donate money or anything like that, that is okay. Those are some free options for you to truly help out our company and get us more. I mean, you can like spread the word and get us more known out there in the universe. That way we can spread our message to all sorts of people out there. And sorry if I'm acting a little tired. I'm just tired. So it's been a long week as usual, but I'm happy to be here. And as per usual on the live stream, we do actually have some animals on the animal show. We've got one hiding over here in the water. She's in there somewhere, and I'll make sure she makes an appearance on both social media, well, all the social media platforms. That is Ghost our Axolotl. She's hiding behind some plants, but we'll bring out some food and I'll kind of nudge her over in a little bit so you can see her a little bit better. And we have two more animals on the program today that we're going to get to know and learn about a little bit about as well. But if you guys want to leave a comment or question for me down below, or you can try to ask me on Instagram and I'll do my best to see you. You're kind of far away over there. My phone is a little bit far, but I will do my best to keep looking out for questions and comments, and I will address them as long as they're family friendly. When I want to keep it family friendly around here. And please let me know. This is always an interactive show and a free show. So we're very happy to bring you a free show every single week. And if we're not live, then we run a rerun, as you probably have noticed if you've been following us. Luckily, we're not running a rerun tonight. This is live, yay, unless it's rerunning again in the future. I'm talking to the future viewers later. But currently, this is live. And last week, if you missed it, we actually had my husband, Ricky, on the show, and he did a great job being on the full show. It was his first time being on the full live show, and it was a lot of fun. So check out that one from last week. We always upload them to YouTube and Facebook and all over the place, and so you can actually see those again if you missed last week's show. It was a lot of fun to have a guest on the show. I'm all by myself again with our animals, which is how it usually goes. Usually it's just me with the animals, and we get to know the animals together, and I tell you all about them as much as I can think of to say. And you can ask your questions and leave me comments down below, and we will talk that way, right? But every now and then I do have special guests on the show as well. We've had a few of those. Not just Ricky, but we've had other guests too. So it's been a busy week again, as usual, which is great. If you do want to check out our website, onceinawild.com, that's going to tell you where all of the public events are coming up. That's another thing I usually forget to mention. We do have a few of those coming up. We've got a few library shows, and one of our, we've got a show coming up, a meet and greet type animal appearance over on, it's 4th of July weekend, but it's actually, I believe, the 3rd of July, which is Sunday. Is that right? Somebody tell me. I think it is. On the 3rd of July, we're going to be out at the San Antonio Market Square again, and that's going to be a fun appearance. And it is free if you guys want to come out and see some of our animals. We are going to be bringing some of our heat-tolerant animals, and not the bunny this time. So we had the bunny out there last time. If you got to meet Sandor, the Flemish giant rabbit, he is not going to be joining us, I don't think, this time, unless we can talk our the place that we're going, unless we can talk them into being inside, because it's just so very hot and rabbits do not appreciate the heat. So we will be bringing some of our reptiles and other things like that to the show on July 3rd. But check out onceinawild.com. That'll show you all of our public events that are happening in our area, and we try to keep that updated. And as well as on our social media, we usually do let you know what's going on around town and where we'll be, including the live stream every single week. So I hope you guys have had a great week. Hello, Viviana. You're letting me know that Sunday is the 3rd. Yes, the 3rd is Sunday. Yes. So that's the day that we will be out at the San Antonio Market Square. We will see how many people show up. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty busy day. Yes, we can probably bring the green iguana and the Savannah monitor. So yes, a couple of those. We will see how it goes. I'm going to kind of play it by ear. That is one of the challenges of live animals and working with live animals is we have to think of the weather, right? If it's raining, oh my gosh, we have to think of the weather. Maybe we can go inside. Nowadays, it's super hot where we live in South Texas. So it's like into the hundreds, you guys, during the day. And it really gets pretty hot anywhere after 10 a.m. all the way till about 7 or 8 p.m. It's very, very hot. So lately, I've been encouraging most of our clients who book with us to book for an indoor program or have a very, very early morning outdoor program if they need to be outside. So we're being very careful with that. Also, we try to bring fans, of course, cool water, et cetera, to make sure our animals are okay. But really, honestly, nothing beats the heat nowadays in that extreme of heat and during the day. So we really can't have certain animals out in that extreme heat. So we're just very, very careful with that. It's not worth the risk at all. So what else do you guys have to say? I hope you've had a great week. We've had a great week as well. It feels like it flew by, but at the same time was long, if that's possible. But yes, we do have plenty of reptile friends and other types of animals that can be out in the heat with no problem. So there will still be quite a lot of animals out there, etc. So today I did bring the axolotl. Someone's already asked me about the axolotl. Let's see if we can find her. She's in this curtain of plastic plants. Oh, she's gonna eat the plastic plants. She's gonna think that they're food. They are not food, Ghost. So this is Ghost, one of our crazy axolotls. She's in there somewhere. You guys can see her over here. And on Instagram, she's like way over here. See that? So these guys are hungry little monsters sometimes. And one kind of downside of putting these beautiful plants in here is that she's probably going to expect them to be food. And they're not food, they're plastic. So she'll just split it out. She'll spit it out. Also, they don't eat plants. Ghost, you don't eat plants, you're a carnivore. But this is Ghost. She's our albino axolotl, and she is a golden albino. She has kind of a golden hue to her, and she has golden eyes as well. She does not have dark eyes, so she is not a leucistic. Most of the kind of white axolotls that you see in cartoons or drawings of them that have the dark eyes and the pink gills, those are actually leucistic and not albino. It's a rendering of them, right? Sometimes. Most of the, like I said, they're the leucistic type, but we also have albino axolotls too. I'm going to go ahead and feed her a worm because she's obviously ravenous and starving to death. You guys, I promise I feed her. But these guys are little monsters. Their scientific name is Ambystoma mexicanum, and Ambystoma, has other animals in that name category in nature. Ambystoma means gluttonous or eating all the things, wanting snacks, etc. That's what it loosely translates to. Would you like a worm? There you go. Eat your worm instead of the plastic plants. So Ambystoma mexicanum loosely translates to Mexican glutton or Mexican eating machine, I like to say. And they are wonderful, but they are carnivores. And axolotls are a type of salamander, and they only are found in the Xochimilco River system in Mexico City, Mexico. They're kind of south of Mexico City, which is Xochimilco. That's like kind of the area around just to the south of Mexico City. But it's right next door to Mexico City, a very famous region of Mexico. And that's the only place you can find them. And they live in pretty cold and chilly water. So this is actually not a heat tolerant salamander at all. They prefer cold water. In fact, they kind of like it in the 50s and 60s, but can tolerate up to the 70s pretty well with no issues. As adults, and she is an adult, believe it or not, she looks like a big baby, but she is an adult. Come over here. Come over here. People want to see you a little bit better. Here you go. Yum. Oh, I'm going to pull her over here just a little bit. There she is. She is an adult. As adults, they are fully carnivores. But as tadpoles, because every amphibian starts from an egg and hatches out to a tadpole, did you know that? And every amphibian actually has an aquatic partial life. And some amphibians never leave the water like the axolotl. As babies, though, they're actually omnivores. They can eat a little bit of everything because they have a lot of growing up to do and need a lot of food options. But an adult, most adult amphibians, trying to think of any that are not carnivores, are carnivores. So these guys are certainly carnivores. They'll eat worms, bugs, fish, larvae of insects, all sorts of different choices for them. And they'll even eat each other. If they find an axolotl that is much smaller than them, they can eat that, and they can eat other amphibians too. So they're not super duper picky. Anything that fits into their mouth is fair game as long as it's a animal of some sort. Come here. Yum. I'm going to pull her over here just gently. There we go. She's very violent with the feeding tongs today. She's a beautiful color. In the wild, they're actually going to only be found in like a kind of a dark brown, blackish color. They do kind of change their color slightly when they become more active or less active. Their color will slightly change hue, but they're basically kind of like a darkish brownish black. And that's going to make a lot of sense being in the wild because they do need to hide. Out in nature, this type of coloration doesn't do very well historically. Sometimes you get spontaneous albino animals that happen, right? That's pretty well known. We get spontaneous human albinos sometimes too. But number one, they don't do very well because they get seen very quickly by their predators. So they start off very tiny in life. She's not the biggest animal on Earth already, right? As an adult. But as a baby, a tiny egg, and then a tiny tadpole, and then a kind of like half-grown pollywog creature, and then eventually they get about this big. She's about this long, more or less, maybe a little longer than that. And that's as big as they get, really. And so, as a tiny little thing, being albino is going to help her not blend in at all and not help her. And she will be seen by predators and also not able to really stalk her prey as easily. So, they don't often survive, is what I'm trying to say. So, but it does happen. But most of the time, they're going to be brownish black with little spots on them, almost like little leopards. They're really cute. We also do have another axolotl in our collection named Gremlin, who is the natural type axolotl. Did you notice a crumb of your food over here? Oh no. The plastic plant decision was a mistake. Here you go. She lives with plastic plants in her own habitat. Not like she's not used to them. Here you go. Just a little half a worm that got chopped in half there. Yum. I'm feeding her mealworms right now because that is her treat. She doesn't always get mealworms. Those are her favorite food ever. But she does get a formulated pellet, which is a carnivore pellet. That's like a sinking pellet for fish or amphibians too. They can eat them too. And she also gets like earthworms and things like that. They're really neat. So axolotls are a critically endangered species. In fact, there's not very many left in the wild. I don't know what the current numbers are, but I know that in about 20 to 25 years, they went from 6,000 per square kilometer to about 30 or 35 per square kilometer. And that is not good. That's very rapidly declining. And it's mostly due to all human stuff. So, well, I would say, climate change as well, which is not just humans causing that, but we're not helping either. So climate change is a big one because these guys do enjoy cold water in the cenote type areas of the river in Xochimilco, Mexico. And they don't do well in hot water. So the rising temperatures of the earth and the rising temperatures of the water is not faring well for them. They get a lot of extra algae growth and different diseases and fungus and stuff like that can grow in the water and harm them. But also just having a bad, a improper temperature for them doesn't help them survive or grow properly. Another issue is lots of pollution. So they live in a river system, right? And they only have one section of the river that they thrive and live in at all. They don't have multiple habitats like many other amphibians do. So amphibians in general don't do well with any sort of toxicity in the water, like chemicals or anything like that. And they also don't do well with trash, especially plastic pollution and things like that, like microplastics and etc. Plastic plants, just kidding. But plastic in their natural habitat, they can consume it and get sick. And also other pollution as well that can be in their water. That is a problem for lots of water animals, including sea life and things like that, right? But especially if you have a limited space and kind of very specialized ecosystem that you come from and you don't come from any other area on Earth, you're probably already going to have like some problems in the beginning. So trash, pollution, climate change, temperature change. What else? Non-native predators, so invasive predators, invasive species in general. Even if it's invasive species that don't eat the axolotl, they could eat the axolotl's food and take up space and cause a lot of pressure there as well. So they have a lot working against them. But the good news is they thrive in human care. So they breed in captivity very, very well. In fact, they have numerous offspring each time they have babies. They have hundreds of babies, just like a lot of frogs and amphibians, salamanders in general. They tend to have lots of eggs for lots of insurance for their species. And so in human care, they do very, very well. Now, we don't have a ton of genetics for them for like re-release, and we don't have a ton of habitat to re-release them into. So that's the challenge. So right now in Mexico, conservationists, scientists, things like that are actually studying how we can make their habitat healthier again. So they're actually experimenting with some other very similar sections of the river system near to where they live in Xochimilco or in the same area to try to see if they can maybe release axolotls in that section as well. But the main challenge is that it's cleaning up their environment, their habitat, and also having healthy genetics because there's not a ton of them to breed without having a ton of relatives breeding, if that makes sense. So there's some inbreeding going on. So that's unfortunate, but that's all they have to work with. So that's what's going on right now with the axolotl conservation-wise. And of course, they're trying to keep their numbers counted for. There you go. Oh, gosh, she missed. Oh, gosh, here you go. Try again. Axolotls don't have the best vision, by the way, and they're super silly and clumsy. But they will just kind of go for it if they feel like there's food. Their best senses are touch. So vibrations in the water are just touching on their face and things like that, or touching on their skin. They're super sensitive to touch. And also going to be smell. They have a great sense of smell in the water too. Now, don't try to smell underwater, kiddos. We have a different type of smelling system than an axolotl. They can basically take in some water into their nose and it doesn't bother them at all. And these guys breathe with gills. They don't breathe with lungs. They don't really have lungs. So they breathe with those funky things on the side of their face, which look like hair or feathers. They're not hair or feathers, they're gills. Now, most amphibians look like this. Maybe not white, but they look like this type of body, underwater type creature, maybe smaller than axolotls, but they look like this at some point in their life. It's a life stage that most amphibians go through. Most amphibians, like a frog or a toad, for example, a very famous amphibian, those guys will be bred and born underwater most of the time. There's a few exceptions where frogs will actually take care of the young on their back or put them in trees and things like that. But most frogs and toads, they will have to have some sort of water source, like a pond, a puddle, or a river or something like that to lay their eggs in. And mom will lay numerous eggs, typically, depending on the species. And then those eggs hatch out, and they're like a jelly-like egg, and they'll kind of hatch out as a tadpole. Looks like a little worm that lives underwater, and they're fully aquatic. They breathe the water and everything. And then eventually they'll kind of grow legs and arms and have this appearance. They have like the gills on the side and everything else. And then eventually most frogs and toads lose their gills, they gain lungs, and they're able to have a terrestrial lifestyle or even a arboreal lifestyle because there's tree frogs and things like that. Arboreal means tree dwelling. Ghost, would you like another worm? She's a glutton tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying watching Ghost. You're getting to see her pretty close tonight. I'm really liking this viewpoint today. Oh, sorry, Ghost, you missed. And they are super silly. They're a lot of fun. Ghost has the silliest personality of our axolotls. There you go. Yum. I love her. I think she's one of my favorites. So here's some questions. I'm going to address the questions before I talk more about the axolotls. They're one of my favorite animals too. I'm glad to know one of your kiddos likes them. Not everybody knew much about axolotls in the not so distant past. They were pretty much a, what did you say, kind of animal. And even myself, I haven't known about axolotls my whole life. They're definitely a newer species to be popular, which is kind of cool. But that's unfortunately because they're endangered and people are trying to promote awareness about them. Hello, hello. Yes, Axolotl Day today. Yes, we'll try to figure out what animals are going to come to that meet and greet on July the 3rd. It's going to be hot. That is okay. Let's see. Oh, in West Texas, it's cooler. Oh my gosh. Oh, so you're saying in West Texas, we are in the lower 80s by 8 a.m. and above 100. Oh, okay. So it's actually hotter there. Oh my goodness. It's pretty much the same here too. I try not to be outside working anywhere past 10 a.m. But if I have to go to 11 a.m., I will. I don't prefer it for the safety of our animals for programs. But I'm talking about working outside in the yard and things like that to take care of the animals. Summer school is almost over. Hooray. And then we're going right into the new school year, aren't we? They are super cute. Yes, I would not be an axolotl either if I were a animal. I absolutely hate cold water too. I don't do well in the cold at all. Now, the heat is not much fun either, but I'd much rather have the heat than the cold. Here's a good question. Do axolotls bite humans? My son was asking. That is a great question. Axolotls don't really have any teeth. So if she did bite me on accident, and she has before when I've just been feeding her with my fingers and things like that, or like kind of cleaning things, they're real sensitive to the movement in the water. So every now and then she'll try to go for it. She doesn't mean to hurt me. She's just looking for food. It's absolutely not an aggression thing. These guys really don't have any aggression in their body when it comes to humans. When it comes to other axolotls, they may be territorial with one another, but I actually know a lot of keepers that keep axolotls together, and they're able to kind of give them enough space, give them enough partitions and hiding spots for them to coexist in harmony. I personally don't want to risk that because I do have, Gremlin is actually a pretty aggressive axolotl when it comes to being territorial and just eating. So I would be afraid he would actually eat Ghost's tail tip off or her gills or her arm or something like that. And we definitely don't want to go through all of that. However, axolotls do regenerate their body parts. So if any animal is to lose anything, an axolotl is the best case scenario because they do regenerate their body limbs, organs, gills, tail, anything at all. They can regenerate almost anything at all in a matter of weeks. They're very good at it, and they're kind of like super special that way. But I don't want to put them through that, so they're in separate tanks. Not a big deal. But as far as biting people, it wouldn't hurt because they have no teeth. It's just kind of like a suction that happens. Let me show you one more time, or maybe not one more time, but show you another time. There you go. I'm sure she smells the worm. There you go. They just kind of have like a suction that happens, kind of like some fish. It's pretty benign, to be honest with you. She's super cute, you guys. And they just kind of, kind of mash up their food in their mouth, but they don't really have any teeth, so it doesn't really hurt. Yep, they are unfortunately not doing well in the wild. They definitely deserve to be saved. They're super important, like any other animal. Amphibians are super duper important. They are food for other animals. They eat a lot of insects, so like mosquitoes and flies that can make other animals like humans ill. So that's super important to have a grouping of animals that takes care of a lot of bugs for us. That's super duper important for disease control. I'm ready for a healthy planet. I don't know about you, but amphibians are super important there, as are most insect-eating animals, insectivores. However, they're also super important as an indicator species. That's what I meant to say. They're an indicator species, which means that they actually tell us how healthy the planet is, not just by the bug control factor, but also pollution and climate change and things like that that are affecting the axolotl in the wild right now. Some of the things I mentioned already, those things they're very sensitive to. So axolotls and other amphibians like them, they have very slimy and gooey skin, and also in general, they're very sensitive animals to change. So their skin absorbs things. So the fresh water that she's in right now, it's clean. It's obviously fine. It's a good temperature for her. In the wild, they need to be around this too. Now, the wild ones are going to be a little bit more adapted to the changes that are going on in nature, like temperature and pollution and things. I don't think she would do very well if we just released her into the wild. Number one, she's albino, not a good color to have in the wild. She can't hide at all from predators or prey. And also, she's super used to being very spoiled. Now, these guys aren't as sensitive, in my opinion, as like fish to take care of, but they are more sensitive to pollution and things like that. We can't use any sort of chlorinated or hard water with them. You have to actually use dechlorinated water. You can either put special chemicals in it to dechlorinate the water, or you can use like fridge water, which is what I do. And plus the fridge water is cold, so we just do that. And they do very well with like some ice enrichment and things like that. It's pretty cool because they love the cold. But these guys in general in nature, if there's a big change, whether it's pollution, a fungus, a disease, or temperature, anything at all, these guys are going to be some of the first animals to actually be affected and maybe pass away. And so it's really, really important to keep an eye on our amphibians in the wild. So amphibians are super important as an indicator species. I hope that makes sense. Yes, great point. You're saying house cats are invasive everywhere and they harm a lot of native animals. Yes, house cats certainly affect amphibians all over the place. House cats are probably one of the worst animals for the environment all across the planet. In my opinion, house cats should be kept indoors or not at all. House cats are meant to be inside. And I know that might be a challenge for some cats because they like to be outside, but it's really best for the cat and really definitely best for the environment for them to not be outside. Because even if you think your cat is not hunting animals, they certainly are. And also cats carry diseases that they can spread to humans and other animals too, and even spread to other cats and your pets as well, and certainly carry fleas and parasites as well. So it's really a bad idea to keep cats outdoors. I'm hoping and crossing all my fingers and toes that that's going to be something of the past in the near future, because the more we learn, the more we understand that that's not good for cats and it's not good for the environment to have cats just running around. Even if they are very well taken care of, spoiled indoor-outdoor cats, I don't care for that. But if they are indoor-outdoor cats, it's really best to keep them inside because they are probably at least hunting birds, lizards, snakes, amphibians, squirrels, all sorts of animals in their radius where they have their territory. So it's really important, if you ask me, to keep cats indoors. So a really good point to bring up. There are many other invasive species too. I'm not ruling out everybody else, but house cats are certainly probably the worst one because they're worldwide. And you're welcome for answering the question. That was a great question. They're definitely not an aggressive animal. And if she accidentally bites me, it's on accident because she thinks it's food. It's a feeding response. Here you go. Let's have another feeding response. Just so silly. Oh my gosh. You went for it and missed, but we're going to forgive you and try again. Here we go. Try again. There you go. Oh, so aggressive. um, but yeah, so there are a lot of factors against them. But again, they are doing very well in human care, which is why it's really important to have certain animals in human care in zoos, aquariums, and mobile zoos like us, right? And even as people's pets. A lot of pets thrive in human care, and axolotls are a pretty cool pet, in my opinion. As long as you do your research and take good care of them, they do very, very well. You're allergic to cats anyway, okay. All right. Florida is really hot for sure. I actually loved living in Florida. I lived in Florida when I went to school in the Santa Fe College Teaching Zoo, which is where I got my zoology degree. Yeah, so Florida I really like, although it's still really hot. It rains every day in my experience. So it rained just about every single day at the same time, more or less. Some days in the summer, especially, it would be like the rainy season, the monsoon season, or tropical storms. We lived kind of in north central Florida, so we didn't have a ton of like hurricane activity. We had just storms as a result from hurricanes, so we did okay. Hurricanes are probably the only thing I don't like about Florida weather. But in general, it rains a lot and there's a breeze and there's lots of plants. So typically it's a lot more shaded than it is in Texas. I'm not knocking Texas. I like Texas too. But Florida, I kind of miss the rain. Yeah, and Florida is the best to go herping, even though there's some invasive species out there, which is kind of fun anyway to find invasives too. Invasives are animals that should not be there, but they are anyway. Ghost is showing us a really cute pose. I'm going to give her a little high five, high five with my finger. Do you guys have any questions over here on Instagram? I'm going to see if you have any questions. I cannot come too close because you're kind of far away, but I'll do my best. Let's see. What is the difference between male and female for the axolotls? I'm assuming you're asking about axolotls because that's the only animal out. Male and females, obviously, we have both genders in the axolotls, and it's actually pretty easy to tell. She's showing you her nice feminine area here. So she has no kind of like bump or bulgy area in the undercarriage area where most animals would have something very obvious. Axolotls actually do have kind of like a bulge down there or like a bump. So it's super easy to tell the males from the females as long as they're mature enough to be able to tell. As little tiny babies, it's really hard to tell up until a certain point, and then it's super easy to tell. So if you're familiar at all with crested geckos have the same kind of situation down there where there's like a very obvious section of male parts if they are male, and females have a kind of like just a little petite kind of streamlined area down there. And I hate to talk about you like that, Ghost, but you're showing everyone right now. Yes, Bubbles. Oh, just so cute. But it's super easy to tell once they've reached a certain age. Good question. And they do, as soon as they see each other, I don't believe they actually have a breeding season. I could be wrong. I know for captive axolotls, they, as soon as they see each other, they kind of go into breeding mode. How big do they get? They get about what size she is now. I don't know how you can tell how big she is now, but she's around this long if she were stretched out all the way. So I would say that's around probably 9 inches long, something like that. At the maximum. I'm sure there's some that are a little bit bigger than that, but she's full grown. She's around 6 or 7 years old now. I've had her for a while. Love her to death. She's so cool. And we actually had her since she was a little baby axolotl, not a tadpole, but a little bit older than a tadpole. They grow very, very fast. And she does very well. Her favorite food is worms, which is what we brought her tonight to be able to eat for treats. But she also gets a carnivore pellet, which she loves to eat as well. So there's definitely not a picky animal. Typically, every now and then you'll get an axolotl that's not as good at eating as Ghost is, or Gremlin, or other axolotl. What are you doing? Just like trying to climb in between the plants, I think, and play. Sometimes I'll find Ghost planking on top of some of the plastic plants that we have in her habitat. She's gonna turn around fully. Now she's really showing you that she's a girl. See, nothing there. If you saw a boy side by side, look it up. It's super easy to tell. Yeah, so they're not an enormous animal, but not a tiny animal either. Oh my gosh, you guys, she's so silly. Okay, I think that's enough talking about the axolotls. Wonderful animals, super popular animals right now. If you want to meet the axolotls, you can meet up to 2 of them at your next event in person or virtually if you like. We can bring a dark one and a light one. This is Ghost, and we also have Gremlin, who's a darker axolotl as well. He's like the normal type, and he is boy. And if you'd like to see some axolotls at your next event, whether virtually or in person, let me know, and we'd be happy to bring some beautiful axolotls to your next animal encounter of your choice and your next event or whatever you have going on. It could just be just because too. You can just have animals over just because. I don't really mind. Let's go ahead and bring out a lizard friend. Where is our lizard friend? Oh my goodness, we're gonna get him out. So I know last week we had a lizard as well. Let me think. What do we have? We had a ball python with Ricky. We had some Madagascar hissing cockroaches, which are running amok all over the place. And then we had a blue-tongued skink. And today I brought an axolotl, a lizard, and another snake as well. To be very honest with you, I had to bring animals that were easy to show with the axolotl setup, because this setup is a little bit different than just like a standard sitting at the table type setup. So I had to bring some animals that would make sense to hold to be able to see them. So this here is Samuel L, and he is a Jackson's chameleon. He's kind of a younger male Jackson's chameleon. He's probably like 2 years old or so, maybe a little bit older than 2. And he is a male. He has the 3 horns. For the Xanthelopus Jackson's chameleon, which is the subspecies that he is, the males do have the horns and the females do not have horns, except they may have little tiny horns, but they're super duper dimorphic, which means that male and female look totally different. So he's got 3 long horns on the front of his face, kind of like the Triceratops dinosaur, right? Not really related to the Triceratops, but pretty similar looking as far as what we think of, right, in a dinosaur. But the females really don't have that, and that is mostly going to be for show. The males and females will only come together for breeding. They're not a social animal at all. In fact, most chameleons prefer to be all alone all the time until it's time for mating. So when they are selecting their mates, females will oftentimes select the male with the longer, more beautiful horns. That's going to be for mate selection. And then males sometimes will shove each other around just kind of ritualistically to show a little bit of strength, but they don't really hurt one another. They're actually a pretty not an aggressive, pretty passive type chameleon, which is why I love them so much. This is actually my favorite species of chameleon, the Jackson's chameleon, and there are a few subspecies. This is the Xanthelopus, and Xanthelopus are found native in Kenya. They're up high in the mountains of Kenya. They're also kind of a cooler weather animal as well, just like the axolotl. They don't prefer temperatures in the 50s, but they actually like it in the 60s and 70s, and they live up in the mountains high altitude. So in comparison to other chameleon species, they actually like it a lot cooler and don't really do a ton of, well, they'll bask in the sun when they feel cold, but they prefer it a little bit cooler and lots of humidity and fog, and just think of like a mountain lifestyle up in the mountains of Kenya in Africa, of course. That is where they're from. So because of that, they don't need a ton of heat. In fact, a room temperature room is plenty of heat, and then they actually do better with just some ultraviolet light or natural light if they can live outside. Now, here in Texas, it's much too hot for them. So this type of animal would not do well in the 90s and 100s. They would actually not survive, and that's far too dry for them. So we do keep them indoors, as we do most of our animals. But some of our reptiles do live outdoors, by the way, and that is going to be our iguana, Joanna, the iguana. And we also do have our 4 tortoises, our red-footed tortoises living outdoors as well, as long as the temperatures are above 60, and they certainly are now. Our tortoises do get soaked twice a day to make sure they're hydrated, and the iguana has a big giant kiddie pool to get in to make sure that she can swim and use the restroom and feel good. And also we do mist her and make sure she has a lot of drinking water and lots of salad to eat as well as the tortoises too. And the tortoises do graze on grass and weeds too. So those 2 species live outside most of the time, but the rest of our reptiles live in a reptile room, which each one would have like their own habitat, right? So the Jackson's chameleons, we have two of them. We have a female and a male, and they do not live together. They live in separate enclosures because they don't really like each other. Most chameleons do not like anyone, including humans or other lizards. So we keep them away from each other and not in sight of one another. They're actually, I don't believe they can even see each other from where they're at, which is what you want. Lots and lots of plants to hide behind and feel secure and everything. And we do miss them twice a day minimally, and no heat on them. Our reptile room is plenty of warmth enough, to be honest with you, and they do have ultraviolet lamps to keep them healthy. It's important for chameleons to have lots of UV. Now, you may be thinking, I love chameleons. I would love to have one for a pet, but there's certainly an advanced type reptile pet. I do not recommend chameleons for most anybody. They're great for education in small increments, but they really do not like to be handled at all. They're not dangerous to humans by any means, and they don't need a ton of space, depending on the species of chameleon we're talking about. Most chameleons don't need a ton of space compared to other larger reptiles and things, but they're extremely sensitive to becoming sick, to maybe not eating as well. If you have the wrong lighting or the wrong humidity or the wrong enclosure, they can certainly pass away very, very easily. So it's definitely an advanced animal because of that factor. It's more for them than it is for us. They're not necessarily a dangerous pet or anything like that. It's more dangerous for them if you don't know what you're doing, and they can certainly perish very, very quickly. That is just the way it is. They're very prone to becoming sick, diseased, or very, very stressed. And the slightest things can stress them out, even if it's something that doesn't make any sense. We only use our chameleons in short increments on programs. We do not take them to all-day events, and we do not take, for virtual, it's usually pretty brief as well. Virtual is usually fine for them. They get to go right back home right afterwards. Ours are pretty used to going places, but we're always keeping an eye on whether or not they're not feeling well and things like that. And if they need breaks, they get breaks, and that's just the way it is. Our panther chameleon, Thanos, is probably our most popular chameleon when it comes to being selected for parties and things, but we never take him to an all-day party or event, and we just have him out in small little appearances, and then he gets to go right back into his travel enclosure and take breaks, because those guys do not like to be handled very much at all, especially Thanos. So we've got Samuel, the Jackson's chameleon, hanging out on a branch because these guys are definitely arboreal. We have a beautiful aquatic axolotl posing over there and looking away from us right now, and our Jackson's chameleon, Samuel right here, and they're strictly arboreal. These guys will come down to the ground in emergencies, but really no other reason. They prefer to be in the trees. You can see his little hands are designed to climb tree branches. His toes are the same number of toes and fingers, I guess you can call them fingers if you want, front toes, back toes, as any other lizard. There's 5 of them, 5 in the front, each hand. So 10 in the front and 10 in the back. So 5, 5, 5, 5. But all those toes are fused together like little mitten hands, and that's going to help them to be able to grab onto tree branches very, very easily. That's just the way that they've evolved. So they are strictly arboreal. They're not even designed to crawl on the ground at all. And they will stay up in the trees, and they will actually look for their prey in the trees, which happen to be bugs. These guys are insectivores, another carnivore species that we're meeting today, our second carnivore of the night. And these guys are really, really good at staying very still for very long amounts of time. As you can see, he's staying very still and looking like part of nature. So these guys have a leaf-like appearance. They're very flat. They fit right through tree branches, no problem, to navigate through the trees, but they also kind of look like part of the tree too. They look like a leaf or a part of a branch. And once they see something delicious to eat, like a fly or a roach or a cricket or something like that, they will kind of stalk their prey. They have like kind of a rocking back and forth movement that they do, and that helps them to keep mimicking the movement of the tree and the wind blowing like a leaf. And then eventually they'll get close enough to grab their food. And they actually don't have to get that close at all because this type of animal has a long tongue. You may know this, but chameleons actually have a tongue that can expand and extend the length of the tip of their nose to the tip of their tail. So that's how far they can reach. So the full length, including the tail of the whole chameleon, is how far they can extend their tongue and catch a bug. So that's very, very helpful as well because they can sneak right up on their prey and do the thing, right? The back and forth movement and looking like part of the tree already. And then they don't even have to be anywhere near their food to snag it up. The tongue will launch out of their mouth and stick to the food with a very, very sticky and kind of bulbous, wet end of the tongue. Super gross, but super cool at the same time. And that will engulf and wrap around the bug and also stick to it really well. And in the blink of an eye, they will bring their tongue right back into their mouth. It whiplashes right back in, and then they can crunch it up with their teeth. These guys do have pretty strong teeth for their size. Now, they're not really a dangerous animal to a human or anything like that, but to a bug, that's certainly probably their worst nightmare. It's kind of like a little trap in there, almost like a Venus flytrap with the teeth and everything. And they're not polite eaters either. If you look it up, they're super impolite when they crunch up their food and open their mouth, and they chew up their food with their mouth fully open, which is super gross, but also really cool for animals. I wouldn't do that at home if I were you, boys and girls, because that's super impolite for humans. But animals are certainly able to chew with their mouth open and look super cute. For me, one of the cutest eating animals is going to be the opossum. Opossums chew with their mouth fully open as well. It reminds me of the chameleon too. So these guys are really good at hunting bugs. They're super special in a lot of other ways. Chameleons do change color as well. It's not to blend into stuff. So they do change color with the special assistance of special holes in their skin that are very tiny, and those are called chromatophores. And most chameleons as well, and most lizards that change color have chromatophores and iridophores. Iridophores are what give the appearance underneath the chromatophores, which are kind of like little pores, by the way, chromatophores, chromatophores, open and close like pores, and underneath those chromatophores is going to be color how can I describe this? It's almost like pigment called iridophores. Now, for example, other animals have this too, like squid and octopus too. That's how they can change their color and appearance. But that's essentially how they do it, is by opening and closing their pore-like properties, which are called chromatophores, and that will give the illusion of color change. Now, they don't usually do this in order to blend into stuff. Their color as is and their pattern as is already blends into stuff. So just being themselves, they can hide pretty well. They don't really have to change to blend into stuff. They actually change their color to talk to one another. They change their color to communicate how they feel in their mood. You're a little twitchy tonight. It's okay, buddy. Oh my goodness, you're so cute. They're so adorable. So to show their mood, talk to one another, and also change their temperature. And that's going to be most lizards that do change color. Lots of lizards change color, like iguanas, bearded dragons, geckos, and gnolls. All sorts of lizards do that. Not every species of lizard, like the blue-tongued skink or the tegu, for example, do not change color. They stay the same color all the time, but lots of lizards do. And those are the three main reasons: to communicate, to change their temperature, and also to show their mood. So I do not fully speak chameleon, but I think he's trying to show us what kind of mood he's in. I'm trying to handle him minimally tonight, so he's less stressed. But he's also going to change temperature that way. So being a cold-blooded animal, which Ghost is a cold-blooded animal, a cold-blooded killer. Just kidding. A cold-blooded animal is an animal that actually doesn't have their own body temperature, right? So us as humans, we are warm-blooded. If you didn't know, now you know. We are warm-blooded, and we have our own constant body temperature. If we are not 98.6 degrees, more or less, in smaller increments, right? We want to be about that temperature all the time. Otherwise, we are probably not healthy. We probably are sick. We have a chill or a fever. We are usually the same temperature all the time, unless we're sick in some way. A reptile is not like that. So a reptile doesn't have their own body temperature, neither does Ghost the amphibian. Now, they may be adapted to cooler temperatures as species. Both of these guys like cooler temperatures, more or less. But most reptiles, when they feel a little warm, they're going to lighten their body to reflect the sun's rays and get less heat from the sun. And when they feel a little too cold, I think I said that right. And when they feel a little bit too cold, they're actually going to darken their body in order to attract more sunshine and get warmer from the sun. Does that make sense? When you go outside on a hot sunny day like it's been lately, no matter where you live right now in the US, I'm sure it's going to be pretty hot in the summer, right? At least during the midday portion of the day. So if you go outside in a black shirt, you're probably going to get warmer faster. If you go outside in a white shirt, you're going to help reflect some of that sun and stay cooler. And if you didn't know that, now you know. That's going to help you out. If you wear a black hat, your head is going to be too hot. If you wear a white hat, that's going to help you to reflect the sun, or a light colored straw hat or something like that. Very few people wear black in the summer. That is not a good idea. So that's going to be the same concept as a lizard, like a chameleon, changing colors. If they feel too hot, they're going to become lighter. If they feel too cold, they're going to become darker. And some of those colors also might indicate their mood or communication between chameleons. Did you know as well, chameleons are one of the type of lizards, I think they're the only ones, Correct me if I'm wrong out there, if you guys know. I believe chameleons are the only type of lizards that don't have any ears. So they really don't hear very well. They may have some internal hearing from their inside internal ears, but they really don't respond to sound in the same way that most lizards do. So for that reason, their communication is visual only. So most lizards don't really make a lot of noise anyway, but a lot of lizards can hear just fine. In fact, almost all of them can. And some lizards, like geckos, for example, can actually communicate with their voice. They actually do talk quite a bit. They make noises and are very vocal. And a lot of lizards will hiss and do little things like that. But the chameleon, not so much. They really don't do any vocalizations at all. They're going to communicate fully visually, not by sound at all. They don't have any ears. And another really special thing about chameleons are their eyes. Can you guys see his eyes? His eyes can move in two different directions. So one eye can be looking one way and the other eye can be looking the other way at the same time. They do have kind of like two little pictures in their head space, in their brain. They see two images at the same time. So that is a really great way to stay safe, look around for dangerous things around you like predators. And that's also a really great way to hunt with your eyes and find bugs. That is really what they do most of their twitchy eye movements for, is for looking for lots and lots of yummy things to eat. That's going to help them hunt because bugs move around a lot, right? Insects do. Yeah, but it's for both reasons: to look around for danger, to look around for food, maybe even for mates sometimes, right? But they do have super duper amazing eyes that are covered in kind of like a covering, covered in a covering, Amanda. They're covered in kind of like a sheath, and that's got a lot of musculature around it, and they can move their big old eyeballs all over the place. Pretty cool. They can shut their eyes. In fact, chameleons are diurnal. Jackson's chameleons certainly are. I'm pretty sure most chameleon species are diurnal, which means they're active during the day and they sleep at night. In fact, a chameleon that's not sleeping in the night and awake at night is kind of a one of your first indications of poor health. That can be one of the first warnings of an unhealthy chameleon is sleeping during the day. They may not be feeling well. Chameleons are active during the day and sleep in the night, and they can shut their eyes and just go to sleep completely in the night is when they sleep. But they do shut their eyes, unlike a snake or some other animals. There are a few type of lizards as well that don't have any blinking eyelids, but they certainly do. They can shut their eyes. Pretty cool. Do you guys have any questions about the chameleon? Let's see. Not yet over here. Let me see over there. I don't see anything else. Oh, here's a question about amphibians. Somebody says, "You think mud skippers or hellbenders are future ambassadors?" Maybe. You never know what animals you may see at once in a wild. Right now, our only fully aquatic amphibian salamander types are our axolotls, and I love them. We'll always have them. I've never kept mud skippers or hellbenders before. Those guys are a different new species for me. So who knows? Maybe someday. What do you guys think of Samuel L., the Jackson's chameleon? Another really cool thing about chameleons is their tail. So all chameleon species, they're arboreal. So that means they're going to be up in the trees. They're climbing trees. He's looking very skinny like a branch right now. But can you see him holding onto my finger with his tail? He's hanging onto my finger with his tail. And that is like a fifth limb for him. So he's got all four fused mitten hands for climbing around, but he's also got a prehensile tail, kind of like some monkeys, and all chameleons have this. It's a fully prehensile and very strong, capable tail, and that is not going to be a tail that he can lose like some other lizards, like geckos and knolls and other lizards that can lose their tail through tail autotomy. Tail autotomy is when a lizard's tail will pop right off and then regenerate later in a matter of months. These guys don't have tail autotomy. They keep their tail. They don't lose their tail for defense at all. They keep the tail as a hand for them. So it's like a fifth limb. It can grab onto tree branches and even hold up their entire body weight. It's actually one of the strongest for their size, right? In all the animal kingdom. They can certainly lift their whole body weight. Would you like to come over here? I think you're trying to get down, which we can't have right now. You can't get down and run around. He is so cute, you guys. This is my favorite species of chameleon on the planet, the Xanthelopus, Jackson's chameleon. And if you're just joining us, this is Samuel L., the Jackson's chameleon. He's going to come onto my hand, I think, right now. So we'll go ahead and let him crawl onto my hand. And I can show you the prehensile tail if he'll let me gently hold him up by the tail. See that? He can easily hang on his whole body weight by the tail, and his little pinching hands will climb back up here and be able to climb very easily as well. Isn't that cool? They're such a neat little animal. He's looking really skinny right now. He doesn't always look like that, but I think he's just trying to hide and blend into stuff. And I'm not going to let him go swimming with Ghost because I know Ghost would definitely win in that situation. He is smaller than her. Aw, you can see his pattern on his skin right now. He does have quite the pattern, but they don't always have that kind of I guess camo looking pattern. Sometimes they're going to be a solid green or solid dark green or solid brown, just depending on the mood and what he's doing. And again, they're going to change color for temperature control, for communication, and mood change. I think you did a great job. This was Samuel L. the Jackson's chameleon. These guys are not endangered. Now, one thing that's really, really cool, I'm going to let him go back down and rest because we keep it brief with our chameleon friends. Chameleons don't do very well with long increments of being handled. So for Jackson's chameleons, one of my really favorite things about them is they're one of the type of chameleons that give live birth. They do not lay eggs. A lot of chameleons do lay eggs, and several chameleons actually give live birth, including the Jackson's chameleon. So I think that is really cool. They have like a litter or brood of babies that are live born from their mother. Now, mom does not take care of them in this case. She will actually not take care of her babies. In fact, the babies are born and they're very capable right after birth. They're super small and they grow pretty fast. But they are born, they kind of fall to the leaves of the tree because mom is going to be like up in the trees, right? And she'll just give birth down into the leaves of the tree. They'll usually fall and kind of stick to the leaves with the amniotic sac, and then they will try to get out immediately and run away. Hopefully they fall in far enough to get away from their mother because their mother is their first potential predator. That is right. They are cannibals at that size. If they have smaller chameleons, any chameleon will eat a smaller chameleon than them. Brothers and sisters, they don't hang out either. Now, if you are raising Jackson's chameleons in the human care, those babies can live together for a short amount of time and then you have to separate them later. It's always good to separate chameleons because they're solitary animals, you guys. They don't really like company. But in nature, they're going to be born. They come out in like a little blob, they break out of the amniotic sac, and they run away from their mother immediately. And other potential predators too, because the smaller you are in nature, the more likely you have more predators. They're immediately on their own, immediately climbing, hiding immediately, looking for little insects to eat like gnats and fruit flies and things like that. Is going to be usually what they eat. All right. So we only have one more animal tonight. I apologize for being a little bit late tonight, and thank you for your patience and everything. And we're doing well on time. And in case you guys are just joining us, it is Once on a Wild Wednesday. We have Ghost the axolotl, and we just met one of our Jackson's chameleons, Samuel L. We do have another Jackson's chameleon named Janet, and she, of course, is a female Jackson's chameleon. They do look totally different. So next time, if we have a Jackson's chameleon on the show, I will try to have Janet on the program so you guys can see her. She's been on the show before as well. Okay, you guys, so we have one more animal, Ghost, chameleon, well, Ghost the axolotl, Samuel the chameleon, and now we have another snake, you guys. And I know we just had our ball python on last week, but I brought another ball python on the show, and I wanted to honestly bring animals that would be easily seen because we do have quite the setup today with our axolotl friend in the tank right here. So it's a little bit hard to see some of our animals. So I had to bring some animals that were easily seen and also not too chaotic for this type of setup. I don't want to knock things over. I didn't want to bring like a ferret or a bird that is a potential mess or accident waiting to happen. So I thought I would bring a nice, well-behaved ball python. Now, Prince was on the last show, another ball python, but he's a totally different color than Princess, which is the ball python that's on the show right now. So this is Princess, and she's an ivory morph ball python or ivory colored ball python. And this is a special morph that is bred into the species through selective breeding. I did not breed her. I purchased her this way as a baby a long time ago. And Princess is already going to be 6 years old. I can't believe it. She's doing very, very well. She's very beautiful and quite the popular snake. She's one of our most popular of all of our snakes at Once in a Wild because she is so pretty and so unique looking. In fact, a lot of times when people are a little bit nervous around snakes, I hope you're not, but if you're kind of a nervous person around snakes or you have very little experience with them, a lot of times if you see a special coloration like an albino animal or an ivory colored animal. Now, technically, she's actually a leucistic because she does have dark eyes, but there are many different morphs of leucistic, and ball python. So I know it's super confusing, but she's an ivory, but also a leucistic because she's not an albino. Albinos of the species are actually yellow and they have red eyes. So that would tell you that this is not an albino. But a lot of times when people see special colors, albino, spotted colors, different pretty things that people think are pretty, white, whatever it may be, yellow, I don't know, you name it. That makes them feel a little bit more comfortable for some reason because it doesn't look like a wild creature, that their instincts take over and tell them that it's something to be scared of. Princess would never harm a fly unless you're a rat. That is the only thing that she likes to eat. And she's a super picky eater, so she's never going to bite a person because she barely bites her food. And ball pythons are kind of known for being very docile anyway. If they become nervous, they may strike, but it's super rare. And what's more likely is that she will draw her head backwards because that's actually one of their natural defenses or protection tactics. It's going to be to hold their head under their body. So a ball python is called a ball python because they curl up in balls. A lot of times too, they will kind of hide their head underneath their heavy body. They have a smaller head for the size of their body that they have. And a lot of times that will work in their advantage by covering the head with the strong body. That makes sense, right? Almost like a tortoise in a shell a little bit. So that's why they call them the ball python. The other the other name for the ball python is actually the royal python. And the reason for that is because it was believed that ancient Egyptians actually owned these guys. And I'm pretty sure this is true, although I don't have I wasn't there hundreds of years ago when this happened, but it was known and said that ancient Egyptians and some other very rich individuals used to own ball pythons, specifically this species. I'm sure they were the wild morph, which is more spotted and things like that, kind of a camo pattern for them too. Similar to ghost, in the wild, this would probably not do well because they can't hide from predators and they can't hide from prey, but in the wild, they're going to have like a camo pattern. It's still really beautiful. And so they would actually own them as pets and wear them as living jewelry. This is a snake that's really, really slow moving. Most of the time, they just kind of hang out with you if you're holding them, and they're easy to hold because they hang on to you. So a lot of kind of royal people, hence the name royal python, would own these guys, hold them, or wear them on their neck or wrists as living jewelry. And it's okay. I understand that you guys have a life outside of once in a while. So if something happens and you have to go, you can always watch the show later on. I know there's been a lot of thunderstorms going on. So if you guys have weather issues or anything going on, feel free to leave and you can watch the show another time or rewatch this show later. I'm having a hard time talking today, you guys. I need to have more caffeine next time. But anyway, so this is Princess, the ball python. She is a ivory ball python. The more that she grows and sheds skin, the more freckles she gets. I don't know how well you can see them on the stream because the lighting in here is a little bit brighter than it just has to be bright to be able to pick up things. But she does have little spots and freckles on her body, and she gets more of those each time she grows and sheds because, of course, reptiles of all types have to shed their skin to grow. That helps them to kind of like heal their skin and get rid of external parasites and things like that. And snakes typically molt or shed about once a month as an adult. As a baby, they may shed a little bit more often, but it's usually around once a month as well for this species. Oh, now this is not going to be, this is not going to be a very large snake at all, especially for a python. They are a type of python, but they're a smaller species of python. You may have heard of a ball python or royal python. They're super duper popular as pets or animal ambassadors because they're super duper docile and they don't get very big. Now, one drawback with keeping ball pythons, in my opinion, I don't think they make the best first snake, but they might make the best second pet snake if you're wanting to keep a pet snake of some sort. My recommendation for the first pet snake is going to be a corn snake or maybe some sort of rat snake that is docile like a corn snake. There's several choices, but corn snakes are the most widely available and, in my opinion, the best. So corn snakes are really hard to go wrong as far as health goes and feeding and things like that and taking care of them, which is very important for the snake, right? But also they don't get very big. They're very beautiful, in my opinion. And also they're pretty docile. So the ball python also docile, but they have a handful of health issues potentially, including shedding issues. They tend to have stuck sheds very easily if you don't have the right humidity. And even if you have the right humidity and everything's correct, they can still have shedding issues. We're always learning on how to improve that as keepers, but it is just one of those things that they kind of They're just prone to it. So also humidity problems. A lot of these ball pythons will get upper respiratory problems, so they can get sick if their humidity is wrong, or if their heat is wrong, or if their ventilation is not good and things like that. They're just kind of sensitive for a snake. In my opinion, the pythons are some of the more sensitive of groupings of snakes, and ball pythons are no exception to that. Some of your colubrids, like corn snakes, etc., those guys tend to be very, very healthy and easier to keep. And boas tend to be a little bit easier in general, depending on the species of boa, but your kind of common boas, those guys are bigger in general, but have less health problems than python. And ball pythons, because there's so many of them, you're naturally going to get kind of more health problems because there's more of them. There's more morphs of them. They've been bred and bred and bred and bred and bred and kind of overbred. So you're taking a little bit of a chance or risk with keeping a ball python. Also, ball pythons, my least favorite thing about them is that they sometimes don't eat. So when feeding snakes, they don't eat every day. They're going to eat maybe once a week, and some snakes, like Princess, about once a month. And we do offer her food twice a month at this age and size, and she's very, very healthy, as you can see, not skinny at all. But she usually only eats once a month. She's a very picky eater. She only eats rats, and only the right size and the right color and everything else. We do not feed her live rats. She eats frozen thawed rats. Has to be the right temperature, and has to be the right situation and the right time of day. It's a hot mess sometimes. So some ball pythons are great eaters. Prince is a much better eater than Princess. That's our other ball python. If you missed last week's program, he was on the program last week. And he's been on here several times. He's a patterned Pastave ball python. He's got a different color than her. She's just super special. She will not eat for a long time sometimes. And that's actually really, really common for ball pythons. So a challenge, if you only have one snake in your collection that doesn't eat, then what are you going to do with that rat? Luckily for us, we have lots of animals that eat rats. So if she refuses to eat her rat meal, it can go to another snake of the same size, or it can go to our owl, or it can go to our ferrets who eat raw diet as well. So we've got some options there, and we don't really waste food around here unless it's gone turned or bad, right? That's the only reason we have to throw away food around here, because it all gets used, let me tell you. But with ball pythons, if you have just the one, and maybe just the one larger snake like this, and you have rats only for this snake, is what I'm trying to say, and they don't eat, then what are you going to do with the rat? You can only refrigerate them again so many times before it becomes spoiled. So that's a big challenge with ball pythons, and I find that super annoying. Now, you may not find that annoying, and you might be okay with dealing with that, and you think it's worth it, but they're really not my favorite because of how they act sometimes. Now, that being said, they're wonderful. They're very docile, easy to handle. So for that aspect, I do like them for people to experience and things like that. But I'd rather them be their second snake after maybe experiencing another species and getting to know how to keep those, rather than your first snake. So there's a lot of research to be done. There's also a lot of, oh, I think something happened on our Instagram live. I'm going to make sure that it keeps on recording. Uh-oh. Hold on just a moment, you guys. Hold on. So for some reason, Instagram kicked us off of our live, and I'm trying to get back on, and that's what's going on. So I'm just going to keep on talking on the rest of social media, and I'm sorry about that. It is loading, and hopefully it's still working over here. So I'll just keep on chatting about Princess. So anyway, they're wonderful animals. We take our ball pythons to a lot of appearances, and public appearances and private appearances, because they're by far our most docile and easy to handle snake for new snake handlers, and maybe people that are a little bit nervous. around snakes. And so they're a great snake to have around you if you are nervous around snakes. So I'm going to be right back once again. It's having me sign back into Instagram. I'll be right back. Not sure what's going on at all. We may just go ahead and end our Instagram portion of the live stream. And we're really kind of coming into the home stretch anyway, but that's unfortunate that it did that. It's like it's basically telling me, like trying to make sure it's me signed into my account. That's super annoying. But these guys are wonderful. They're by far one of the most docile, like I keep saying over and over again. So they're great for public animal appearances and things like that, and they're very, very popular. In fact, almost anybody and everyone, as long as you're nice to them, can handle a ball python with no problem. We do have a ton of kind of photos and videos of our clients and guests meeting ball pythons and holding them on our social media. So you should check those out and see. And if you happen to be a little bit nervous around snakes, that is okay. We don't expect everybody to love them, but this by far is one of the best snakes to meet if you happen to be new to snakes or nervous around snakes. And let me know if you guys have any questions about Princess over here on social media. Instagram, I may get back on there and just say goodbye to everybody. I also heard that there may be some storms going on in some areas. That might be what's going on. More technical problems. We're used to it, right? So hopefully that's going to be okay over on Instagram later. Sorry about that, you guys. Hopefully you came back over here to see the end of our animal program. We've got Princess out here. She's one of our 2 ball pythons in our collection currently. We also do have another guest ball python that occasionally is on the show and has been before. His name is Patches, but he belongs to my stepdaughter, Nikki. So she got to take him home with her, and she spends a lot of time with Patches. So Patches is no longer a full-timer here at Once in a While, but we actually have 2 named Prince and Princess. It's really fun sometimes to kind of let people know that Prince and Princess are coming out, and they assume that they're like puppies or something, and they're ball pythons, which is okay with me, right? Ball pythons come in lots of different color morphs, as you may know. And if you're looking for a pet ball python, there's so many choices. The best thing to do is honestly adopt one from somebody that may not want them anymore, because a lot of people do impulse buy snakes and reptiles, and especially ball pythons are one of the most popular, if not the most popular, of all the pet reptiles in the pet trade. So a lot of them end up needing homes. So that's the best thing to do, is kind of look up online, maybe find a Facebook group, or maybe even on Craigslist or something like that, or reptile forum. Maybe what are some of the forums out there? There's Discord and things like that. Look up those and see if there's any ball pythons needing homes that may be free to just adopt that way. And then you're saving that ball python's life by giving it a home as well, right? And another thing you can do is look for responsible and ethical breeders of ball pythons. There's so many out there, luckily for you to choose from. Another great resource is maybe a reptile convention or reptile show, where there's a whole bunch of, tables of ball python breeders and other sorts of animal breeders at the show. That's going to give you lots and lots of choices to look up. And then you can see which ones you feel like the breeder, kind of vibes with you and you think is the most ethical, and you can kind of go from there. Ball pythons are certainly one that are very widely available out there and pretty affordable depending on which color morph you choose. If you choose something that's new or fancy or rare, they're going to be really expensive and that can be up into the thousands of dollars. Or you could find one that's either free or very, very inexpensive, like under $100. So super up to you what you are wanting. And a lot of them are available out there. Ball pythons, like any snakes, don't have ears, just like the chameleon. They don't really hear very well, do they? And they use their sense of smell via their tongue. They actually have a smelling tongue instead of a smelling nose. Their nose just breathes, just like our nose can breathe for us with lungs. They actually do have 2 lungs, but only 1 functioning lung, which is a fun fact. But the snakes in general have every internal organ that we have inside their body, including 2 lungs, but they only use 1 lung. That's just how they've evolved. But they do breathe with their nose. and they smell with their tongue. The tongue flickers out of their mouth. It is forked with 2 points on the end of it to give them a sense of direction with their tongue, kind of like the insect with their antenna, right? That can give them a sense of direction as well. Instead of having 2 ears, they have 2 points on the end of their tongue. Makes sense. And that's their best way to sense prey and also just their environment around them. They also have eyes and they can see, but a snake's vision is not the best, and that is all snakes. Most snakes see pretty blurry and not very much color, if any, and their vision is not the best. But their eyes are always open. So for resting and sleeping, they don't shut their eyes at all. And by the way, ghost doesn't have any eyelids either, but a lot of aquatic animals are like that. But snakes are pretty unique in that way. They actually have spectacle scales, which are clear scales over their eye, which will protect the eye, but that causes them not to have to blink. So they just have that protection at all times, almost like wearing goggles at all times. And for that reason, because they smell that way with the tongue and they see that way with their spectacle scales, they can go underwater and see underwater very well. And they can also smell underwater with their tongue as well. In fact, a lot of snakes do hunt underwater by looking and smelling with their tongue because they can do that. They cannot take in, well, they don't want to take in air, so they hold their breath and they stick their tongue out to smell underwater. Ghost can smell underwater too, but she does that with her nostrils. Okay, you guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and end the program here. I'm going to get back on Instagram if it's going to let me get back on, just so I can show them Princess a little bit longer and then maybe say goodbye over there, because I feel bad for it just ending like that, technical problems. And I'll explain myself over there for our Instagram viewers, because I know there's a few of those over there that I'm sure are watching over there. But we are going to say goodbye. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you would like your own animal program, please make sure to visit onceinawild.com or contact us via our number, which is found at onceinawild.com. So either way, you can also find our number, which is in the description down below and in the bio description over on Instagram as well. But the easiest way is go to onceinawild.com. It's going to have our contact number and information. You can either request a contact and I can get back to you, or you can text or call us directly through that number that's listed on the website and let us know what you're interested in, whether it's in person, virtual, birthday party, classroom, animal therapy, anything at all, petting zoo. We would love to help you out and bring some live animals to you, because we are a mobile zoo based in South Texas and we are in San Antonio, Texas, in case you missed that. A free way to help us out is by following, liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all the free things on social media. That really does help a lot. We're looking for more YouTube We're looking for more YouTube subscribers. It's been a long night. And we're looking for more followers on Twitch as well as TikTok as well. So if you'd like to help us out there, that is very, very helpful. And always stay tuned to onceinawild.com for our public events coming up, whether in person or virtual. And we'll see you guys next week here on Once in a Wild Wednesday. See you guys next time. Bye.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. And that's the fun for me and you.
Okay, you guys, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.